So a lady that I've done some work for before ordered 5 tumblers, and she pretty much gave me free reign. They're for a basketball banquet. So here's what I put together, and the basketball graphic came from Creative Fabrica. Now I have a membership to Creative Fabrica, so I tend to use it almost exclusively. In my membership, I can get unlimited downloads, and I can get the commercial license, or the commercial license comes with it. So the basketball came from there. And then the mascot where the students go to school is a Trojan. And so they sent me the Trojan head. And then I used the font Varsity to put their names up this side. Now this basketball image looks a little different than this. It's a different size. I'll show you on the computer in just a minute. Basically, I took a 9.4 by 8.15 rectangle because that's the size I wanted to cut it out at. And I fit the image in the way I wanted it to show. I wanted to have this on one side for their name. 2 reasons. Their name is going to show up better on white. And then also the beauty of this, you can hide your seam right here or right here, and you're not going to have an issue at all with it. So I've done all but one of the tumblers, and I'm going to show you my process. Now this is just my process. You might have a different process. You may have seen a different process. This is what works for me. So first of all, when I cut this down to size, usually I would use a trimmer like this. But what I was finding is, as this blade went along the paper, sometimes it was dragging the paper, and sometimes it just wasn't a real crisp cut. I guess I need a new blade. So for this project, now I didn't use this cutting mat because this is too small, but this is easier to show you. But I used one of these flexible cutting mats. And then I took this metal ruler. It has cork on the back. I think I got this at Walmart. I know I did. And it was $3 and something, close to $4. I laid it down where I wanted it, and then I used my rotary cutter to cut it. And it came out very crisp. And I think that's probably the method I'll use from now on. Then another thing that I did, let me move my image because I don't want to accidentally get alcohol on it. I took my tumbler and I sprayed some alcohol on a paper towel, and then I like to put my hand inside of it so I don't get any fingerprints on it or any oils from my hands. The other thing is I always wash my hands before I'm working with this type of thing. Then I let that sit and dry for a couple minutes. Now while I'm letting that dry, let me jump over to the computer and just show you my design. Now I'll link the basketball design in the video description below, and then I'll also have a link in case you want a 1-month trial membership to Creative Fabrica. It's $1. I'll put a link for that as well. Okay, I'm going to try to talk. I don't know how well the sound will be, but this will only last maybe 30 seconds. So if I go up to my profile and then go down to my downloads, I can see everything that I've downloaded, and I can re-download it if I want to. Now here's the basketball image that I used, and basically from my image I cut off some of the top, and I cut off a decent amount over here. That's where I put the name. Also, just FYI, this white shiplap in the background, that's not part of the image. Okay, so I got my taping method from Roy of Industrial Fringe. He has a YouTube channel. He is hilarious. He's very entertaining, and he is very detailed. I love that about him. And this is just what's successful for me. Again, you might have a different way of taping, and that works for you, and that's fine. I just want to share what I do. The first thing I do is I get it cut down so there's barely any overlap. And in this case, I'm going to overlap the white over the image because I want all this image to show, and it's not a problem having a little white overlap. There's nothing to transfer there, so I don't have to worry about it. Again, this is a great technique to use. And I'm going to give credit to Roy again. One of his videos talked about your design building in some type of seam area. Okay, so I'm going to start by flipping it over because I want the top, this is the top of the cup down here against the table, I want the top to line up really perfectly. So I'm going to go ahead, get it lined up, make sure I have the right side of the paper on the outside. And now that gets us lined up just beautifully. So here's the side right here with my finger tapping. That's the side that goes against the tumbler. So I'm going to hold it and stretch this other side around. And if you notice any blue paint on my hand, that's because I'm making a sign for my craft room. Okay, so keeping this nice and tight and making sure the correct side's on the outside, I'm going to put down one piece of tape. And I'm going to adhere it to the top side first, give it one more tug, and then really press it down. Now this tape is a thicker tape, and third and last time I'm going to mention Roy, this is a tape that he recommended. So I ordered some, I used his affiliate link, and I love it. Love, love, love it. Okay, so once again, I've adhered it down to the side that's on top, or the outside piece, and I'm going to make sure that's really nice and snug. And I'm going to start here in the middle and work my way kind of up and to the side. I'll do the same thing on the bottom half. Okay, so this is the top. I want to start with it. Now usually I would set my cup up and do it facing me, but I want you to see it, so I'm going to go ahead and lay it back down. I just have it on a t-shirt. I need to make one of those holders with a pool noodle, and I actually bought the pool noodle. It's a skinny one. I found it at Walmart for 90-some cents. So I need to do that soon. Okay, here's my seam. I'm going to start just on the other side of the seam, and you want to pull with the seam. You don't want to pull against it and try to spread that apart. You want to pull with it. And I can tell my tape isn't quite straight. Now I am just going to the top of the cup. Well, okay, I don't want to redo that, so I'm going to go with it. So, okay, let's just pull that back up. Actually, I am having a mess here. That's what crafting is though, right? Okay, so this first piece, I want it fairly even with the top of the cup. It can be slightly above it, very slightly below it. And on this one, I'm not pulling tight. I'm not having any slack, but I'm not stretching it super tight. That's going to be my next piece of tape. The other thing is, you might think, wow, she's using a lot of tape, and I am, but I have messed up enough tumblers to know that using extra tape is a whole lot less expensive than messing up a tumbler. So my next piece of tape, let me go ahead and stand this up and I'll kind of talk to you about it and then I'll show it to you. This next piece of tape, I'm going to have it about half on the tumbler and about half above the tumbler. And you can see that there. Now for this piece, I am going to stretch really tight. But I'm not stretching the paper because I'm putting it on the tape. And that tape down below isn't going to stretch. So I used to get these puckers at the top. And because of this taping method, those puckers are so much better. The other trick is have this paper end at the top of your tumbler not a decent amount or not quite a ways above the top. So now that I have that one on, I can look and see, is there any place that isn't really tight? If there is, I'm going to start there and I'm going to shove it down. Mine looks pretty good. But if there was, I would start there and I'm going to shove this straight over the tumbler. I'm not going to go around. I'm going to go straight over the tumbler. And I'm just pushing this so it sticks to the inside of the tumbler. Then I am going to look for any puckers, and if I have them, then I'm going to take something and rub toward the top and kind of rub that pucker out. Okay, now that I have it on there, here's what I do. I put it on my table or a hard surface. Sometimes I have a tile. And I rub at an angle to get that top adhered down. So now I'm going to do basically the same thing on the bottom. Now the bottom is slightly beyond the cup or the tumbler, just barely slightly beyond it. And I think that'll turn out okay. I'm going to look for those puckers. If I see any, I'm going to deal with them. Now another thing about this design is it is very forgiving, very, very forgiving. It has that grunge look, and anytime you have that grunge look, well, typically when you have that grunge look, it can be pretty darn forgiving. Okay, so there we are. And I just realized that I said something incorrect earlier, because when we get over to the tumbler press, the timing that I'm going to use, I also stole that from Roy of Industrial Fringe. Now to do my press, I like to cradle my tumbler in a piece of butcher paper. That way I can put, and I don't have the tumbler in there yet, but I can put the tumbler in the butcher paper, slide it in, and then I can hold it up tight while I'm closing it. Then when I rotate it, I can just pull it out, rotate it, and put it right back in. All right, so I'm going to turn this on and let it heat up. I ordered this from Best Sub, and I worked with a person named Jackie Yan. I'm not sure if Jackie is a male or a female, but he or she was very responsive with all my questions. They were very helpful. I ordered it through Alibaba. You can order it directly through Best Sub or through Alibaba. Now I have an unboxing, so if you have any technical questions about this one, watch that video, because I do talk about what you need to be able to change out your attachments. That's kind of hot. Shouldn't have done that. So while that's heating up, let me kind of talk to you about the process I'm going to use. Now I'm going to press at 385, and I'm going to press 4 times. I'm going to do 50 seconds, rotate it 180 degrees, 50 more seconds, then just give it a quarter of a turn, do 20, and then another 180 so that I have my last side up, and 20 more seconds. And I know for some people this is overkill, but I like to show the process I use in case anybody else is having issues. Okay, it's close to being up to temp, so what I'm going to do is start with the seam. You can see the seam here. I'm going to have the seam on either the front side or the back side. It doesn't really matter, but I feel like the front side and the back side get the best pressure. And because it's not totally even pressure, that's why I turn it so many times. Okay, I'm up to temp now, so I'm just going to go ahead and put my cup inside my little paper cradle. And you might be able to see the seam right there. So I'm going to have it in front first. So with this cradle, I can just slide it in, and then I can hold it up so that it stays even, and then close the handle. Now on this press, once you close the handle, your time starts counting down. And when this gets down to 0, I'll open it. Now remember, we had the seam in the front first time. So this time, which will be my second press, I want that seam in the back. Remember, I said 180 degrees for your first turn. Okay, so this second press is the full 50 seconds. Then when I open it, I'll turn my cup 90 degrees, so a quarter of a turn. I'll close it, and then I'll just do 20 seconds. Now I'm not going to reset my timer. I'll just open it when it gets to 30. Okay, that was a 180-degree turn because I needed to get my fourth side of the tumbler straight up. Okay, and that's my last one, so I can go ahead and turn this off. Okay, this is still pretty hot. I only let it cool the amount of time that it took me to kind of readjust my camera. So I'm going to hold it with the heat-resistant glove. And then what I like to do is I just put a slice in the top of the tape. Now don't go all the way onto the tumbler and scratch it. Just cutting it so then I can rip it apart. Let's see the big reveal. And once again, it is beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now there's a little bit of white on that R, and that's actually just a little bit of the paper fiber stuck to it. And same thing right here, that's just fibers that stuck to it just a little bit. Those will come off real easy. Let me go ahead and rinse this off in the sink. I'll bring it back and I'll show it to you. So here it is, and you can see that paper's gone. It turned out super cute. That is really nice. And like I was talking about, the grunge effect, you know, that kind of helps hide things if you have any issues. But this is a really clean press. So here's 4 of the tumblers lined up. I wanted you to be able to see all 4 sides of the cup at one time. I think they are beautiful. I think they turned out just so nice. They're going to love them. I really like this grunge effect, and kids love this grunge effect. Now, thanks so much for joining me today, and until my next video, bye-bye.